Another Boeing whistleblower has died. What a weird coincidence that is, right? Two Boeing whistleblowers dying under mysterious circumstances back to back in a matter of only 2 months? Man, that's peculiar, isn't it? Must just be really bad RNG. No reason to investigate that any further, I'm sure. So for those that don't know, being a Boeing whistleblower is more detrimental to your health than smoking cigarettes. At least the cigarettes kill you slowly over a period of years, whereas being a Boeing whistleblower kills you almost immediately. Like, skydiving without a parachute is safer for you than blowing the whistle on Boeing and all of their shadiness. So, a month ago, there was a Boeing whistleblower named John Barnett who was found dead with apparent self-inflicted gunshot wounds, the timing of which was really interesting considering he was at the tail end of an extremely important lawsuit that he was engaged in with Boeing. And according to everyone that knew him, he was extremely excited to be done with that lawsuit, and in fact, shortly before he was found dead, he'd actually told people that if he does turn up dead, just know he didn't do it to himself. Probably circumstantial evidence, that probably doesn't mean anything. Just don't think too hard and accept the shit that they feed you with the official story that he just decided while sitting in his truck to blow his goddamn brains out. That makes a lot of sense here. I stand by my assessment that John Barnett was assassinated by Boeing. I don't believe it's Boeing themselves, but I believe it's a couple high-ranking members within Boeing that are taking matters into their own hands and doing these things. It's the only explanation that makes any level of sense to this. So I made a whole video breaking down the evidence in the John Barnett case, as well as an entire Red Thread episode dedicated to uncovering all of the shadiness and corruption within Boeing. That company is fucked. Jackson, Windigoon, and myself went through the entire history of Boeing, and they are so corrupt it would make Umbrella Corporation blush at how evil Boeing is. It is shocking. So I really do think that these two whistleblowers were the victims of some kind of assassination. So let's talk about the most recent whistleblower. His name is Joshua Dean. I learned about it last night while playing Crab Souls, and well, it's not the real name of the game. The name of the game is Another Crab's Treasure, and it's a banger. But while playing this game, chat told me that another Boeing whistleblower had just turned up dead, and I thought they were memeing. And it turns out they weren't. They were actually telling the truth. Oh. Do you see the second Boeing whistleblower got murked? No shot the other whistleblower is dead. No shot. It's real? No, I don't believe that. Hold on, I'm looking that shit up right now. No! What? It's just in plain sight. Yeah, whistleblower Josh Dean of Boeing supplier Spirit Aerosystems has died. What? Another Boeing whistleblower is dead. 6 hours ago, yeah. Joshua Dean, a former quality auditor at Boeing supplier Spirit Aerosystems and one of the first whistleblowers to allege Spirit leadership had ignored manufacturing defects on the 737 MAX, died Tuesday morning after a struggle with a sudden, fast-spreading infection. Oh, that's interesting. This time it wasn't bullet to the head? They're getting creative with their assassinations. That's crazy. This is the most dangerous thing you can be as a Boeing whistleblower. That's more dangerous than being like a fucking volcano lava taste tester. This shit, it's just in plain sight. His entire family stated he was healthy until after he blew the whistle. He lived a very healthy lifestyle and the illness was sudden and unexpected. Yeah, he contracted that stick it to the moniosis from Boeing. Joshua Dean was a quality auditor at Boeing supplier Spirit Aerosystems and was among the first whistleblowers to accuse Spirit leadership of ignoring defects on the 737 MAX, and he died shortly after contracting influenza B, MRSA, and then developing pneumonia. Now, for those that are unaware, Boeing has a history of just ignoring safety precautions and just hiding things. So in the previous case with John Barnett, we actually learned quite a few alarming things, such as there were times where scrap metal was used for Boeing planes in order to meet deadlines. They'd also keep things off the books as much as possible. They even used Dawn dish soap as a lubricant for the aircraft door seals at one point. Then they also used hotel key cards and wet cheesecloths to perform maintenance. Just an absolute smorgasbord of malpractice, at least in my perspective here. Of course, I'm not an aircraft specialist, but using Dawn dish soap and hotel key cards, That doesn't really seem like textbook protocol there. That sounds like something you'd read on WikiHow for a DIY aircraft maintenance at your own home for like an RC aircraft, not a fucking Boeing. So these gentlemen came forward to try and alert the public about what Boeing's been doing, or rather not doing, that they should be, and they've both paid the ultimate price for it. In my eyes, they're heroes for the work they've tried to do here. So, being a Boeing whistleblower is basically like just taking a cyanide capsule at this point, it seems. It's just more of a matter of when, not if, you turn up dead, I suppose. Let's go deeper into the case of Joshua Dean here, because this one seems so blatant. His mother and stepfather described him as a health nut who rarely drank and attended church regularly. He started feeling sick around 2 weeks ago. He stayed home from work for a couple days, but things got worse. Sunday, April 21st, is when his mother got a call from him that he was really sick, having trouble breathing, and he went to immediate care, and they told him he had strep throat. She went to check on her son and telling him to call her if he felt worse, and he did call her a couple hours later and said that he was going to the emergency room and that he was scared because they found something in his lungs. He tested positive for influenza B, he tested positive for MRSA, he had pneumonia, his lungs were completely filled up, and from there he just went downhill. This was a stunning turn of events for Dean and his family because he was described as someone who was very healthy, he went to the gym, ran nearly every day, and was very careful about his diet. Quote, "This was his first time ever in a hospital. He didn't even have a doctor because he was never sick. But within days, his kidneys gave out and he was relying on an ECMO life support machine to do the work of his heart and lungs." The night before Dean died, Green said medical staff in Oklahoma did a bronchoscopy on his lungs. The doctor said he'd never seen anything like it before in his life. His lungs were just totally gummed up and like a mesh over them. Unfortunately, it sounds like Dean came down with a severe case of Boeing whistleblower lung, which is a serious medical condition that only affects Boeing whistleblowers in particular. It makes coal miners' lungs look clean in comparison. So I'm not surprised that this was the doctor's first time seeing anything like this, because typically a Boeing whistleblower doesn't even survive long enough to make it to the hospital in one piece. This fucking company is rotten to the core. Green says she asked for an autopsy to determine exactly what killed her son, and results will likely take months. "We're not sure what he died of," she said. "We know that he had a bunch of viruses, but we don't know if someone did something to him or did he just get real sick." In my unprofessional opinion, I think someone did something to him. I think the infection he contracted was Boeing hitman disease. I think he was poisoned. This is someone that took their health extremely seriously, and only a short period of time after coming forward with information about Boeing's negligent practices does he get extremely sick and then die, all in a short span of time, with something that doctors had never even seen happen before. That's a little suspicious. And this is the second whistleblower that has died under mysterious circumstances in 2 months? Wow, what a crazy coincidence. To me, this feels like someone or a group of people within Boeing is taking matters into their own hands and making an example out of these whistleblowers, because Boeing is a massive company with so many people in it. And thus, there's a lot of people that are privy to all of the shady shit that they've been doing over the past couple of decades. So, by sending this message, not so subtly, that whistleblowers don't have a long life expectancy, it makes people afraid to come forward with their own accounts. It makes more whistleblowers afraid to come forward. And I think that's the goal with all of it. That, at least in my opinion. Like I said, we did a full dive on Boeing for that Red Thread episode, and this company has been corrupt for a long time. I would not put it past them to do something like this. Maybe not the company as a whole, but at least a couple of bad actors within the company, at the very least. Now let's get into some of the things that Dean was alleging. So he had a degree in engineering, and he took his first job at Spirit in 2019, but was let go amid the layoffs during the pandemic. He then returned to work for the company as a quality auditor. He took the job very seriously and grew increasingly frustrated with what he described as a culture of not counting defects correctly, which is very commonplace when it comes to this. During 2 interviews in January, Dean said that Spirit pressured employees not to report defects in order to get planes out of the factory faster. This is something that John Barnett also said. Now, I'm not saying they don't want you to go out there and inspect a job. You know they do. But if you make too much trouble, you will get the Josh treatment. You will get what happened to me. That's what Dean told NPR. Dean was fired in April of last year in retaliation, he said, for flagging improperly drilled holes in fuselages. I think they were sending out a message to anybody else, Dean said. If you are too loud, we will silence you. Dean described what he saw while working for Spirit in a deposition for a lawsuit filed by the company's shareholders who accused the company of misleading investors by attempting to conceal excessive numbers of defects at the Kansas factory. He was not a plaintiff in the case. In the shareholder lawsuit, Dean said he flagged a significant defect, misdrilled holes in the AFT pressure bulkhead of the 737 MAX fuselages months before he was fired. His deposition lays out a series of pivotal dates. October 2022. In his auditor role, Dean realizes Spirit workers misdrilled holes on the 737 MAX AFT pressure bulkhead, representing a potential threat to maintaining cabin pressure during flight. The lawsuit accuses the company of concealing the problem. April 13, 2023. Boeing publicly reveals learning of a separate defect related to the tail fin fittings on the certain 737 MAX aircraft. Spirit then confirms that defect. April 26, 2023. Spirit fires Dean, saying he failed to flag the tail fin issue. In his testimony, Dean said he told the company officials that he might have missed the tail fin defect because he had just discovered the problem with the bulkheads he inspected and was focused on that. August 23, 2023. Boeing announces it has found fastener holes in the AFT pressure bulkhead on certain 737 MAX airplanes that don't match its specifications, resulting in snowmen due to the multiple holes' elongated shape. It's the problem Dean flagged 10 months earlier. On the same day, Spirit releases a statement acknowledging the issue. The shareholder lawsuit accuses Spirit of concealing the bulkhead defect not only from investors, but also apparently from Boeing. It's important to note that Boeing is currently in talks to acquire Spirit altogether, and in the interview with NPR, Joshua Dean predicted it would be difficult to replace the experienced workforce that Spirit lost during the pandemic. The mechanics aren't as experienced, neither are the inspectors. We've just lost that. He then showed a little bit of optimism for the new CEO who was taking over, saying that he has the chance to be the new sheriff in town, and he closes by saying, "We need to make sure that there is no retaliation or intimidation. This culture of, you're too loud, you'll be moved or silenced, that's got to go." Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that culture went anywhere. In fact, they are silencing people in the biggest possible way, by making it so they can never speak again because they're dead. That is what it seems like to me. This is a problem that runs so deep with Boeing. It's in Spirit, their supplier, and Boeing itself. This is unacceptable. Like, the planes are in terrible condition. There is problems almost every single day with Boeing flights malfunctioning and having all kinds, like oodles and oodles of issues. It really feels like it's only a matter of time before a fatal incident occurs with one of Boeing's aircrafts that would have been entirely preventable if they actually just followed their own safety protocol and actually listened to the quality auditors and the people that are actually supposed to be performing maintenance on these things. It's so baffling to me that we've reached this point where they're so focused on just pumping shit out to meet deadlines that they don't really care if it's put together well. These are things that hold thousands of people's lives daily, and they're just shipping it out as cheaply and as fastly as possible while hiding as many of the defects as they can for as long as they can. That is frightening. Fucking frightening. And the people that are speaking out about it seem to be in an extraordinary amount of danger for some reason. Super weird how two whistleblowers just turn up dead under really interesting circumstances so close together. It just, the whole thing reeks of corruption. My heart breaks for the family and friends of John Barnett and Joshua Dean. Like I said, I really do view them as heroes. Whistleblowers are extremely important. To hold these companies accountable and to try and do the right thing is not easy. As that headline said, it takes tremendous courage. You take a huge risk. And unfortunately for these two, it seems like that risk cost them everything. It's super sad. And I really think that it's just right there in plain sight that Boeing has some kind of hand in it. It's fucking sickening. I think Boeing is an evil company. I think Spirit is an evil company. Like, this is just, it's craziness. It's fucking horrifying. So I want to talk about this a little bit. That's it. See ya.